come to us, do a presentation, so the slideshow, and like sell the dream, show pictures of like Clemson, Vermont, these really super cool like universities saying they're gonna get you here, and it's like, oh, this is sick, I want to go with this agency straight away.
Then we felt quite pressured.
I didn't know where I was going at all. I didn't know Missouri was even a state before I went out there, and that made me realise straight away they'll say anything to get you to go to the school.
It was just alarm bell after alarm bell after alarm bell. We tried to talk him not into doing it, really.
We were very worried he'd take my scholarship away, so we paid my semester early so he couldn't take it. We'd try and do anything just to stop him from taking it away. And I said, well, if you do that, I'm going back home because I can't afford to be here.
Ultimately, why did you guys decide to work with us? So the degree portion for you guys was important, and then obviously the soccer.
Yeah.
I think that's why soccer scholarships in America are a good opportunity for a lot of people, as you kind of get the marriage between the two. So it sounded like that was a driving factor for you guys. So once you guys had made that decision, what was kind of the next steps? How did you end up making that happen?
Well, first, obviously it was a two-part process. First time we had a agent in the UK. We just signed up with them and left them to it, really. We didn't really know what was going on from one moment to the other until offers started coming in.
Right.
And we didn't really have that much communication with
It was
them.
a complete learning curve, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
You didn't really know anything
Yeah.
about the process or what was going to happen.
Yeah.
We didn't have much knowledge at all, really. It was the one my friend went through with, and they worked in the area and took players from that club, so it just felt right to go with the same one, and he ended up it working out too well, but he didn't really explain the process to me too much when it comes to the agency, and the agency weren't too fulfilling at times with letting us know any sorts of information or what's going on behind the scenes.
Got it. So your friend went through this agency, was that the only person you knew that had come to America?
Some a little bit older, but I think the same agency as well, and that's
really?
the place I knew in the area, and they'd come to us, do a presentation, so the slideshow, and like sell the dream, show pictures of like Clemson, Vermont, these really super cool like universities saying they're gonna get you here, and it's like, oh, this is sick, I want to go with this agency straight away.
100%. So did you guys know there was other agencies out there, or was you kind of thinking that this was the one?
Not really, we didn't.
Well, I just thought that was the only one, because that was the only one where the
I mean, looking back, it's obviously were, but no, it was like they were the only choice at the time.
I think we just didn't think about anyone else.
Yeah.
It just seemed right to go with them because everyone else did.
100%.
Yeah.
You'd seen other people and they'd made it happen. And, there's an element of you don't know what you don't know. I think that if you cast your mind back to 2 and a bit years when you guys were in that situation, when you was like, how do we make this happen? Your goal probably at that point is to just get to America and just make it happen. You're not thinking of what type of school do I want to go to? What state do I want to live in? Like all these things that are really, really important as part of the decision-making process. I think for a lot of people, when they first start this process, their goal is, how can I get recruited? And there are a lot of layers to, what your experience is ultimately going to be like. Your friend who went to Oklahoma, versus your experience could be worlds apart, and it's because of the state and different factors like this. So cool. You told me that you went through an agency the first time. So what was kind of your experience from that presentation that they put together in person all the way through to actually getting recruited and getting the offers on the table?
Yeah, so obviously after the presentation, gave them my information, they have a meeting similar where you just sit down with one person from the agency, and it's not really like speaking through the process, it's more, right, this is what we do you want to do it, and confirming, you make the payment, and then from then on you send them clips, then we'd highlight video, and then after that it was just sort of sitting and waiting. We didn't really know much more, so he'd speak to my mum directly, and we'd get a message one day saying this school's interested, may work out to an offer. So we'd wait, and then some schools would come back, and then some schools you just hear nothing about, and I'd ask my mum to reach out saying what's going on with that school, because we heard nothing, and then they'd just say, oh, he just broke down, and then it'd be like, but then the thing that bothered us most is we'd give him our budget, say that was £10,000 a semester, and what they do is they weren't really bothered if it was lower than the budget. he just wanted it on budget. So they just go to the school saying he needs 10,000 to pay, which we prefer to pay much lower if possible. So it was just we just sat and dealt with what we got really, and everything I learned about like JUCO schools, 2-year schools, NAI, NCAA. I did that research on my own when we started getting in offers. I'm like, right, this school's an NAI school. What the hell does that mean? I need to research what that means and learn a bit more about how everything works. So we kind of just sat waiting, not knowing what's going on at all the majority of the time.
There is a huge information gap within this industry, and honestly, it seems counterintuitive to do what we do. Because as an agency, it is in our best interests to withhold information so you guys have no idea how to do this process yourself, therefore need our service. And that is how most agencies work and why this information gap exists. Now, we take a little bit of a different approach, let's just say that. But I wanted to know how the information gap affected their decision to send Thomas to the US to play college soccer.
Well, when the offers started coming in, I think we had 5 offers on the table at one time, all completely different. And then we felt quite pressured to make a choice. And it was kind of like, well, they almost panicked you into, well, you've got the offers now. This is what you've been waiting for. Get on with it. But there was that massive information gap, and for us, it was 2-year schools versus 4-year schools. That was the only way we were looking at the criteria. And then obviously Tom was looking at the program and which one he preferred. But for us, it was always that thought of transferring, which we'll go on to later, scared the hell out of us.
It was a stab in the dark, wasn't
Yeah.
it, really?
So for us, it was like, get your 4-year, do your 4-year, stay there. If it's a school you like, which was the school you wanted anyway.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was just very like looking at it now. We're transferring to a new school now. Like I know so much more about this college and what I'm walking into, the situation of a goalies, my competition. Like I know loads about the conference, the teams, everything. When I went to Culver my first year, I didn't think I knew anything there. I knew St. Louis was in Missouri, but I'm still 3 hours away from St. Louis. I didn't know where I was going at all. I didn't know Missouri was even a state before I went out there. And like, we just turned up and saw it, and I was like, right, this is it. Like, I remember walking the campus first day, meeting the coach, and I was like, right, I'm really in the thick of it now. This is what I'm doing. And I literally knew nothing more. The only bit of information we knew is when we got the school's information, me, my mum and dad would sit down, go through their website and find whatever you can. And usually it's not that much. So I was just going off the blank things that I knew already, and that was pretty much it.
When you think about it, as an international, you are literally moving to the other side of the world to a place you've never been before with no idea what it is going to be like. So I asked Thomas what research you guys should be doing before you commit to a program.
I think location's massive. So like looking in your area and what you're in, and like wanting to have certain things. Because when I first went there, I didn't really have anything I wanted. Like I said, I was just focused on football. So maybe a desirable location you want to be in, maybe a level of education, maybe a level of team. Like, do I want to be in a team with a winning record that's making the playoffs, or do I not really care too much? Like, have these priorities that help define that school and make you want to go to that school a bit more than you did before.
Research is so important, and the more research you do, the better you are going to come across when you are on the phone to a college coach, because it is very important that they feel you are actually motivated to go to their school. College coaches are having the same phone call with multiple players in your position. So if you know more going into that call, the likelihood of you standing out is sky high, which means you are more likely to end up with an offer. And while we're on the topic of offers, I asked Thomas what offers he actually got.
They were mainly due pro schools. So I had the one NAI offer at Culver Stockton, which I ended up taking. And then there was 4 JUCOs. There was Mineral Area College. I think it's a D2 JUCO or D1 JUCO. But I think they had links with the agency, so they send a lot of kids there. Lake Tahoe in California, which is definitely older. I thought like area-wise, should have thought a bit more about that one than I
That would
did.
have been a good one.
Build scholarship on that one.
Yeah, literally. And
You could have been living next to Jeff Bezos in Lake Tahoe.
and that one I just brushed right over and didn't think about it. And there was one in Bel Air as well.
Oh yeah, Bella, yeah. Again was nice.
But it was literally like at the time we didn't know much about it, and I think the thing that dragged me to NAIA so much is that's where my friend went and was successful. And to us, it seemed like because education was quite a big thing, going to an NAIA school, the education would be better than going to a junior college. But we didn't understand that you could do 2 years at a JUCO, then go to a 4-year. We didn't know how that process really worked, so we didn't really look at the JUCO system at all.
Was it, in your guys' eyes, a JUCO or NAIA, or was you looking at the schools? Because it sounds like for you guys it was a decision 4-year institution or 2-year. Is that right?
Absolutely. For me, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
It just seemed from our point of view a 4-year, because we thought the process was once you went to that school, you were there for the 4 years. You didn't look at, we didn't know there were other options about moving, because your agency sort of said once you were there, never move.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, they didn't encourage.
Yeah, not too big on transfer, because I think they have these links with these schools and they don't want to upset them, so they don't want to send players, and then that player goes, right, I'm leaving. But I think in my mind, when it came to the football, with the ladder of college soccer, I thought it's NCAA, NAIA, and then JUCO. But now, obviously, being in the States, playing exhibition games against JUCO schools, against NCAA schools, I realised, like, obviously the levels are there, but there's JUCO D1s that are beating NCAA D1s, and I didn't understand that at all. I just thought, okay, you start at JUCO and then go to a 4-year school. So I saw that as, oh, I'm missing out a step already. I didn't understand that you can take that step to go even higher.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of people on the outside think it is very linear. It's D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, and it really isn't. You know, you just kind of explained that there are junior colleges that will beat NCAA Division 1s, and D2s will lose against NAIA schools. Like, it really is dependent on that individual school you guys go to. You also touched on a few things. So you said, you know, agencies having links with schools. I want to dive into that a little bit. So what do you think the implications are with agencies having specific ties to schools, as you guys just said?
I think we found it as a little bit of, it's like a get out of jail free card. It was like, so they have this link with the school, and it was a good good JUCO school. Like they weren't a terrible school, but it's not in a very desirable place. I remember it was in like the middle of nowhere, but it just kind of felt like I'm looking at other people working with the agency. It was like, okay, they didn't get many offers, let's send them there. And it was just a breeding ground for all their kids to just send there if things aren't going too well. So when I got that offer and looked how many people are already going there, I'm thinking there's something going on here where they're just sending everyone there if they'd not got anything else. So it was just kind of like, that's where I mean, like, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They're just taking the easy route and just going, right, we'll call our friends and say, will you take this kid?
And then that agency just working to just shoot on you to just get an offer.
Mm-hmm.
They're not putting any effort as an individual, are they?
Yeah.
So would you say it was more about them than it was you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so.
It just wasn't all bespoke. I mean, there was no consideration for who was already there, or your position, or your education wise, and yeah, it just felt a little bit lazy, weirdly.
Yeah, I felt their main focus was you'd see how many clients they'd have on. It'd be a ridiculous amount of clients. They'd take a client on even if they knew they couldn't send them to the States or not. But as long as they got them there, they didn't care if they were happy with the school, if it was affordable. They're just like, right, we're going to send you there. And then they'd see us, we've done our job, we've got the kid to the States, and now I don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I spoke about earlier regarding the goal just being to make it happen, you know, versus to make it happen in the right way. And we'll kind of talk about your guys' experiences with kind of us a little bit later. I want to dive into Culver Stockton, the school you ended up at. First day on campus, what was kind of the first thoughts that were going through all your guys' heads?
For me, it was nice because I've never seen a college campus before, so I didn't if it could be worse or it could be better. So, but it was a very nice campus, to be fair. But it was a bit like, okay, I'm really in the thick of it now. Like, I stuck out from a mile away. And like the area around campus was really small. I think the capacity was like 500 people. Like the town was tiny. So we're walking through. I remember some guy with a cowboy hat came and said howdy to my dad first day. Like we're really in the sticks here.
Yeah.
Kind of slapped me in the face straight away for sure.
Well, it was impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
It
was
was a
nice.
lovely campus, and everyone was really friendly. Even, when we went out for dinner in the area, people were really welcoming, and you couldn't really fault it. It felt safe. It felt very safe.
Cool. So first season at Culver, talk to me a little bit about that, Thomas.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. Like, definitely welcome to college soccer. It was just a couple of things came to me straight away. So obviously we get there. It was a shock how many people are on the team because I got there a bit earlier, met a couple of people, and I was like, right, I've met 10, 11 people. I know the vast majority of the team. And then we go into a team meeting, there's 45, 50 players. It's the biggest roster I've ever been on in my life. And then, but no, it was really good from the start. And it was like, you notice little things like college coaches will say anything to get you there. So there was me and two other keepers who were all promised we were going to start because the two starters have just left. And it was like, okay, so we get them, we're all looking at each other going, so why is he playing but I'm not playing? Because we were all promised that we were going to play. And that made me realize straight away they'll say anything to get you to go to the school. Um, Fortunately for me, it worked out well and I became the number one. But it was the conference we play in is the Heart of America conference, where there's the vast majority of the teams are top 25 NAIA teams in the nation. So it was always going to be a difficult season. But going there, I knew that's what I was going into. I sort of saw it as we're going to struggle. They went with one win last year or the year before I joined. But I was like, for me as a goalie, it's an opportunity to make saves, get clips. But I didn't realize how statistical and like award focused the states in college soccer is when it comes to like keeping clean sheets, or they call it shutouts, or like getting defensive player of the week, all American, which is like team of the year. And I didn't realize how important them things were when it comes to helping transferring. But at the time, I just focused on doing my job. Like we were losing games 4-5-0, which is difficult, but I'm still coming out of the game with 12, 13 saves. So I'm like, I've got my stats. It's just we're struggling. But the environment of that college wasn't really what I wanted compared to home. Like there was people who just didn't really care. There was definitely some people who put effort in, but the vast majority didn't care. Like training was very slow, and it was just for football, not the environment. Like I enjoyed my time there. Like the education was good. The people were amazing. Like I made some friends for life there, but for the football, it wasn't what I wanted. So it was for me. It was like keep my head down, keep putting in my performances in the game, get these stats, and even come halfway through the season, I was like, yeah, I know I want to transfer. Like I've got teams in the conference saying if you go on the portal, my coach will put an offer in for you. So it was like, yeah, I think this is kind of the way I'm going to go, even before the season was finished.
So you mentioned that there was 3 goalkeepers on the team that all got promised the same thing. Why do you think coaches do that is kind of the first question. And then also, there's somebody who is also listening to this that is getting told the same thing. What's your advice to them?
I think they do that first of all because I think it is a cruel world. Like these coaches just want you to come in and they want to get that keeper in. If they've got to say something to get you to come, then they're going to do that. We were all internationals, so we've all made the same sacrifice. There's a German lad who's a sophomore, so a second year. He's already been out in the States before at a JUCO, and then he transferred over. And then there was an Argentinian boy, a freshman like myself, a true freshman, 18 years old, coming over for his first year. And I just think they're so focused on just getting that kid there. They want you part of your team. But it's so harsh when you think about it. Like that Argentinian kid after 2-3 weeks realized he's not going to play and went back home. And I think he knows we were so fixated on coming out to the States and he probably won't come back to the States again. But I just think for people who are experiencing that, what I've realized so much is I think one big indicator is the scholarship offer you get, your athletic scholarship. You can kind of tell how much they value you from that anyway. Fortunately, mine was quite large with Culver, so it was like, right, they value me already. But they had that money in the pocket from the 2 goalies leaving before. But I've realised straight away for anyone who's coming not to get too fixated on how much they rate you, because I've seen players who are like, they've come in, they've spent all the money, got a full ride, and you think this kid's going to be amazing. And he turns up, doesn't play good, and then he doesn't play for the rest of the year. And then you get vice versa, someone who didn't get any scholarship but works hard, plays good, plays every minute. So really and truly, it doesn't really matter how highly they rate you. Obviously, the scholarship helps to make it cheaper, but if you go and put in the work, no matter what position you're in, you'll play. So it's just not get too fixated on the position you're in and get too big about yourself from the scholarship you've got.
100%. I think that there's a huge amount of sales involved. You're selling yourself to the coach is selling himself to you. Why choose his program over other programs? And I think that a lot of players will be listening to that and actually make their decision based on playing time because of how important it is. But the reality is the best players will play. Preseason is one of the biggest indicators you'll know by the end of preseason. If you're going into the season and you're a number one, you've got the number one shirt as a goalkeeper, or you're going to be the starting striker, you usually have a good gauge after preseason. What was your preseason like?
Yeah, so it was definitely shared. So I got there a bit earlier than the German lads, which gave me an opportunity to get a bit of a pedestal on him earlier. So I played the first 2 games, and then after that we just rotated games. So I'd play one, he'd play one, and I'd speak to the coach regularly. Like I went up to him and said, to be honest with you, I said I understand the college system sometimes. You come your first year, your freshman year, second year, sophomore year, you don't really play. You develop and then play junior and senior your last 2 years. But I said, where I'm from in England, at 18 years old, you've got to be playing football. You've got to be playing regular minutes. I said, in the politest way possible, I came here to play. I didn't come here to sit on the bench. So I said, whatever I can do for you to make me play, and what you want from your goalie, tell me and I'll do that. And that's kind of my mentality the whole time. Because it was like, I've not come all the way across the world to sit on the bench and let somebody else play, even though the other lad was in the same position as me. But yeah, we shared the games, and I remember we got to the last game of the season, and he was like, right, whoever plays this game, well, the last game of the friendly season, he was like, whoever plays this game is going to start my season game on the Saturday. And he played the other kid, but he actually ended up having not the best game, which helped me. And then I came in to play the next game, and then fortunately played well and sort of kept the spot for the rest of the year. But he was very back and forth, and it's like you said, you realise the position you're in straight away. It was very close between the two of us, which is a fair assessment anyway. But it was like you said, we sort of knew the position we were in. It was for us two to fight for. It's like you said, the Argentinian kid, he didn't play any of these games, and he's playing JV games and reserve games, and he's realising, okay, I'm not going to play. Like you said, by the end of preseason, he's like, okay, I'm not playing. I might as well go home. So yeah, we were sort of in a position where they'd let us fight for it, and the winner would win and then play the rest of the games.
Cool. So you also mentioned a little bit earlier the importance of stats. So, performance wise, it sounds like you had a good freshman year, but that isn't reflected on the outside when it comes to the actual numbers that these coaches are seeing. How important are stats in America?
I think stats are massive, even at home, but also in the States, like even bigger. Like everything's recorded, the games, all the stats are taken down. It's so easy to find each individual. Like if you play a guy and think he was good, it's so easy to find him on his school's website, see how many minutes he played. Like for me as a goalie, it would always be minutes, saves, goals conceded, all the results, and then save percentages every game, like clean sheets. And I think it's massive. Like the coach can just search up your name and see all these stats, and it's what they base everything off. And I think without stats, you can't really do much in that country.
So you mentioned goals conceded. Do you remember how many goals you conceded?
I think 33 in 11 games. It was like 3 goals a game.
You're coming from a high level in England to conceding 33 games in a season. What was kind of going through your head at that point?
It was definitely tough, but I feel like for me, I looked at the team, like the research I did before coming here, and I was like, right, I know what I'm walking into. Like I'm looking at the results, and 3 goals a game sounds bad, but what it was like the year before, definitely wasn't much better. Like I'm seeing games are losing 9, 11 now. So I knew what I was walking into. But I think for me, and I just made my mentality that I know I'm going to be busy every game. Even if I have a worldy performance, we're still probably going to lose. Like I could have an amazing performance, we're still losing 3-5 now. So it's like, I just tried to focus on myself, and I'm just thinking, to be honest, I got very fixated on the stats, thinking like in the game, I'm thinking my save percentage the whole time. I'm going to go back, and every time I get it, take it off a stat sheet, write it down, I'd keep it for myself. Because like I said, I so knew I was going to transfer. I was like, okay, just stats minded all the time. I'd even be thinking it's probably not a good thing, but I'd be thinking in games, right, I've conceded a goal, I need to make a save to get my save percentage up. So I'm like waiting for them to have a shot so I can make a save, because I was so fixated on, right, I go back, here's my save percentage. So yeah, it definitely helped me when it came to transferring, but it was definitely a tough year.
Okay. So Culver finished bottom of the conference. You conceded 33 goals in 11 games. Why did you decide to transfer?
For me, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was just the football for me. Like I didn't feel like I was developing. Like training wasn't great either. We didn't have a goalkeeper coach. He was there every now and then, but from where I played at home, we'd get an hour and a half with him every day, Monday to Friday. So to go to school where there's no goalkeeper coach, for me, I didn't feel like I was developing. I feel like in some ways I developed because I was playing minutes, and in the eyes, there's a lot of older players than the average 18 to 22. So I was definitely learning different aspects, but for me, I just didn't feel like I was getting any better at that school at all, and it wasn't the competitive football I really wanted.
I remember when I got on my first call with you guys, there was a bit of apprehension when it comes to the word transfer. And I think, one of you guys touched on it earlier. You didn't even know transferring was a thing. So when Thomas turned to you guys, his parents, and said, I'm really considering transferring, what was kind of your guys' thoughts?
No.
No. Don't. We thought he was risking everything, and we were really worried that he'd burn his bridges at Culver and
Lose his scholarship.
lose a scholarship,
Yeah.
end up coming home. And as I said before, for me, the degree was a big thing as well. So, and that's why, going back a bit, we were kind of against JUCO, because after 2 years, if you didn't transfer, you didn't really come out with much of a qualification. So, yeah, it was like, what?
You guys are just very worried about.
We were very concerned about it.
Well, originally from the original agency, we were steered that you go to that. So that was always at the back of our minds, thinking, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't help my selling quite much.
Exactly.
It was just, I think you guys were mainly worried of just not ruining a good thing. They
Yeah.
see my friends, they see my school, I'm playing, and I explained to them the worries I had, and they were always there for me through that. But even I messaged the agency I worked with the first year, and when I'm looking at transferring, and he turned around and said, I strongly recommend you don't do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, definitely didn't help me selling it to my mum and dad.
Why
didn't
did
know
they
the
say
process.
that?
We didn't know the process. That to us, it was
You were risking it all.
you were risking
Yeah.
everything. It just didn't make sense. Why would you do that?
I mean, we understood Thomas's reasons, but everything he told us about going on the portal and get letter permission to speak, it was just alarm bell after alarm bell after alarm bell. We just really were trying to, talk him not into doing it. Really, So,
What are the risks involved? If you decide you're transferring, talk to me about the risks.
From
well, yeah, just losing your scholarship, obviously alienating yourself where you are, and then the difficulty of, basically having to go back if it doesn't work, and we found that later, you do sort of distance yourself from your team and your coach, especially in your instance, and it was like, well, can you go back from this? Can you stay put once you've declared your interest in transferring? So that was the main thing, really, that it would all come to nothing, and 4 years becomes 1 year, and
I
yeah,
kind of just learned as we went. Obviously, the main worry was we didn't really know how it worked too much. I'd speak to other boys in my college who've gone on the portal, so considered transferring, and a lot of them didn't go through with it, but they just ended up asking, can I go out and speak to schools? And then they thought, oh, okay, maybe it's not better, I'm going to stay. But I tried to pick up as much information as I could, really, from people around me, but not many people transferred. I think the main worry was just us going and ruining something good already, going on the portal, not getting any offers at all, and then being like, okay, I can't go back because I told them I'm not coming back. So that was the main worry, but we didn't really understand how it would work. I think from what we learned the whole time is it just depends on the coach and the school and their rules. In the NAI, your scholarship can't be changed. When they give you that scholarship, that's it. So it was a little bit worried of, is it right, they can't lower it, they can't increase it, they're just going to get rid of it. So we kind of realised, so the rules from my school was, he took me off the roster, I couldn't be part of the team. I went to practice to see my friends, to show I still cared about people, but I wasn't allowed to partake in practice. Me and the coach's relationship went from, I'm in his office every week speaking after games, to now we don't speak at all. We were very worried he'd take my scholarship away, so we paid my semester early so he couldn't take it. We'd try and do anything just to stop him from taking it away, because I remember having conversations with him. I was open and honest with him, told him my reasonings, and he said, I completely understand. But he went, I'm going to have to find another goalie to replace you. so I may have to use your scholarship. And I said, well, if you do that, I'm going back home because I can't afford to be here. But it was definitely a tough process and a learning process the whole time.
Did you ever consider transferring by yourself, like going through this process by yourself? 'Cause I know you mentioned you went to your old agency.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit of a thought, but it was like at the time I didn't know the knowledge of how to do that. Like the only way I could have done it is by calling people I know are in the States and trying to make deals through friends of mine. But at that time I definitely didn't have the contacts to do stuff like that. So I think I would have struggled. And when I saw the agency wasn't really by my side, I was already thinking I wanted to use someone else from the experiences we had. And for me, I didn't feel like they had the contacts for the schools I wanted to go to. So I think it was a little bit of a thought, but not massively. It was just mainly trying to find someone new to work with.
So it was, I 100% want to transfer. Now it's, how do I make this happen? You was kind of looking at your options. You came across us. So ultimately, why did you guys decide to work with us?
Well, it was quite out of the blue actually, and then I hopped on a call, and you guys sold how it works to me, and like it was just a process. And I know that we had a call with just me and someone on the team, and then it became a call with my mum and dad, and I think they can say as well. I think some of the selling points are so much different. Like first of all, you guys promoted transferring, which I didn't have from my past agency, so I was like, right, brilliant, I'm transferring. That helps a lot. And then when you talk about specific things like me actually learning through the process at the same time, the communication, like we still speak frequently, and technically you've done your job, you've got me to my school, we don't need to speak anymore, but we still do. Like, and then like we said, one thing I think I know my dad liked a lot is that when you say like your budget, like that doesn't mean I'm going to get you offers at this budget. We can go lower and try and get it as low as possible and try and haggle our way to offers, and just learning how to speak to people, like doing calls like this now, doing loads of calls with coaches. Like it got me so much more confident with stuff like that.
Earlier, you mentioned you had one experience with one agency, you've had an experience with us, and it sounds like they were very, very different. How were they different? You know, what were the big differences between your first and then the experience with us?
It was just a lot more open, really, and quite honest as well. Even things like, if we go back to Culver scholarship, a lot of what we were told, Tom was told he could earn $24,000 a year on campus. And when he got there, that and I don't think your visa even allows that, because he said he could have 2 jobs, and that was going to supplement your scholarship.
Mhm.
So it was all things like that. Just even the things that Thomas doesn't even think about, the practicalities of how it's going to be paid for and what you can earn, and the minimum wage is different in different states. All that was out there for you, and just the fact that you touched on all that. Thought if I've gone off on a tangent here, but the fact that you touched on all that just made it all a lot more honest and open, really.
100%. That communication is really, really important. You know, for you guys to be aware of why I'm reaching out to certain schools, why I feel they're a good fit. So you guys, aren't getting offers from schools and you're having to do your research at that point, which it sounds like you did first time around. Thomas, what was kind of if you can cast your mind back, we'd started working together. What was kind of the first few steps we took you through?
I think I remember the first call after we signed on, and we were like, right, this is what we're gonna do. I remember you went through it was like holding myself accountable of like things what I need to do. So like getting back to you as soon as possible, taking my time to write. If I need to find my clips, I need to get this done. And I think for all of us, that was a big selling point. For it was like, okay, you guys actually care about what I'm doing and care about your business's successes. So you care about how everything works out with me. It's not like, okay, I'm just a number on a sheet of people you've got out to the States. You actually care about the individual. So that was definitely a big thing. And then from then on, we finalized a school I wanted to work with. So that was a long call with you trying to figure out what school to go to. Because first we started with like low level, because I was quite fixated on getting into the NCAA and getting into that system. I wasn't really sure whether that was D2 or D1, but we finalized the idea of be going D2, which definitely helped more than last time, because I'm getting offers from JUCO, and to be honest, I wasn't really looking at that system, so it was like there wasn't really much point. So it was definitely good to finalize area and places I want to go. And what I wanted wasn't too specific really, but it was definitely better to finalize things and work within a vicinity of schools I actually want to go to. And then from then onwards, it was just getting my highlight video together with you guys, and then just speaking to schools from there.
100%. So what is it exactly? What was your guys' criteria? Because, it's absolutely pointless, us providing you offers that are out of your budget in a location you don't want to live, at a school that's education system isn't what you guys want to be a part of, all these different things. It's a waste of all our time if we're doing that. So what is it exactly that you guys told us that you wanted?
Well, all of those really. I mean, location wasn't as important. The level of football was really important for you. Education was really important for us still. I mean, Thomas had a really good year. Did ever 4 EPL?
Like around the fault.
Yeah.
GPA.
Which when he was coping with the work, so we wanted him to go somewhere where, he'd have like-minded people, because you didn't really have that at Concord, did
It
you?
was definitely up and down when it came to
Yeah.
education. Like we'd have players who aren't eligible because of their GPAs, but I think, like I said, I think for me the football was focused. Like when we decided we were going to go to a D2, I was like, right, I want a D2 team that competes, and then we're saying, right, we're going to be looking at some good schools, like some top 25 schools in the country. And I was definitely excited because I was like, I don't want to go 4 years in the States and never make it like an NCAA tournament. Like I want to go to the nationals one time at least. But yeah, so, and for me, trying to find a place where I'm going to play, like I don't want to go into a situation where I'm not going to play. Location was mainly just not really in the Midwest again, because it was like I've already experienced that part of the States, try and cover some more ground and cover some more area of the States. So it wasn't really too specific, but like you guys said, still finding a good school with education and
Budget.
just like
The
budget and like the
was-
right fit, like
yeah.
putting me around good people, like you said, keeping me safe. I don't want to go to a team where I'm going into issues that I had at my last school. I want a good environment. I want a hard working environment. I'm definitely happy with where I've ended up going.
So you had quite a few options on the table. Why did you choose Concord University in the end?
Concord kind of just came later on, like out of the blue, and it was definitely like I've seen their position as a school. Like you mentioned, Davison, Elkins, and Point Park. We spoke to quite a few teams in the Mountain East Conference. So we knew the area when it came to like some prestige education schools in the Northeast. So that was definitely a selling point for my mum and dad. But I think Concord team, they finished second in conference last year, and their story of like last year making the tournament for the first time ever, and the position they're in now, and they're just building and growing. It was a great school to be to. Like they're just outside the top 25 this year. I'm pretty sure we'll start the year well and go into top 25 straight away. Their aims to go further in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we have University of Charleston in that conference, so it's going to be competitive. But hopefully this year we can get the edge over them and finish top of the conference. But yeah, it's a great conference, but also they're a very good team. And like speaking to the coach and some players that are there before going, like it's a very hard working school, which is what I want. Like I want training to do well. A massive selling point for me was there's a goalkeeper coach there who's played 4 years NCAA D1. He was a Swedish guy, played pro back home. So it was like, okay, it's an international goalkeeper, which is going to be brilliant. So definitely, there's a lot of good factors from that school for letting me want to go.
It sounds like the experience you're walking into at Concord and the experience you're walking into at Culver are worlds apart.
Yeah, definitely.
How so?
I think just the mentality. Like, obviously, I've not actually got there yet, but it sounds like people are working hard. Like, and from the players I spoke to the captain and another international boy, and they both said to me, like, said, mate, you're going to love it. He said, we just graft every day. He said, and like the coach said, we win games by working hard. Like, we work harder than anyone in the conference, which is an environment I want to be in. I want to be pushed, whether I want to stay there for the rest of my college eligibility years or move on elsewhere. It puts me in a very good position to move on. So it's definitely a complete switch of environment compared to Culver.
Nice. So, when you guys told me your guys' criteria and all these boxes that need to be ticked, how many boxes does Concord tick for you guys?
I think pretty much all of them. I can't think of any that aren't really. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think there's anything that's not ticked off at that score.
no,
Like,
no.